So, just on this health topic, seafood does seem to have this slightly aspirational, because when people talk about their health, there is this aspirational element to it, right? And if you talk about, if you say to somebody, how many times do you eat seafood? It's like saying, how many times do you go to the gym? Yeah. And there's a disconnect. And I was listening to some of the presentations at a seafood conference the other day, and that happened in Norway. And somebody just brought up this topic, so I've got it really top of mind at the moment. So the disconnect between what people say they do and what people actually do, right?
It's fascinating when it's a product or an activity which is deemed healthy or positive, people exaggerate, and when it's deemed unhealthy, people minimize. I mean, I go to the doctor and they say, "How many drinks do you have a week?" And I look at my shoes. So, but the running one is a good example. If you ask people how often do you go to the gym, they'll say, I go twice a week. And if you say, when did you actually go to the gym last? They go, well, I was really busy last week. It's been a couple of weeks. And so that dynamic is also at play with seafood. So when we ask people, how often do you eat seafood a week? They'll tell you, when you add it up, it's 80 times a year at home, 80 times a year, so almost twice a week. Which doesn't make sense to us when we looked at the numbers. But when we said, what's the last time you actually had seafood at home, and we add all those up, what we realize is it's more like 40 times a week. Actually, 40 times a week for the millennials and less for some of the other groups, which makes a lot more sense. So that little story illustrates that people consider seafood to be healthy. They're wanting to exaggerate the quantity that they consume.
So talk us through a little about how we used that understanding and we baked it into the questioning that eventually ended up in our market sizing.
Absolutely. I mean, if you do a simplistic market survey and say how many times a week do you eat seafood, how many times a week do you do anything, you know that there's going to be noise there. So we deliberately used that question, how many times a week do you have salmon, how many times a week do you have shrimp, how many times a week do you have tilapia. We used that data to get the relative market shares of the different types of fish.